My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me now and we will explore these topics and so much more with fascinating guests, authors, and experts who will guide us to Destination Unlimited. Are you ready to build a team of spiritual allies and guides to support you through healing and life's challenges? My guest this week on Destination Unlimited, Dawn McLaughlin, says that you can create your divine support system. Dawn McLaughlin is a writer, Reiki master teacher, vibrational sound healer, astrologer, and yoga and meditation teacher. She's the author of Everyday Reiki, a self-healing routine for mastering the teachings and practice of Reiki, and she enjoys nothing more than sharing Reiki with others. Her website is intuitive-hearts.com, and she joins me this week to share her path and new book, Spirit Allies and Healing Guides, Create Your Divine Support System. Please join me in welcoming to Destination Unlimited, Dawn McLaughlin. Welcome, Dawn.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here, Victor. Thank you for having me.
Dawn, please share with us your early path and how Reiki and all of your other gifts came into your life.
Well, I was a very imaginative child. I loved to read, play pretend, and spend hours and hours talking with my imaginary friends. I even spent time looking for gnomes outside of my backyard and mermaids at the beach. Yeah, I was really sensitive, and I had an uncanny ability to know what adults around me were feeling and sometimes even thinking. But as I grew up, my focus shifted to college and my relationships, and I married early, and I had 2 boys with my first husband. And I really enjoyed my role as a mother and focusing on my corporate career. But, when my boys left for college when I was about 40, I found myself with this big empty hole in my heart. So I began to reconnect with myself, and I attended my first yoga class and learned about the mind-body-spirit connection. And I really enjoyed yoga. I felt a deep connection to it and to meditation and the breath work, which piqued my interest in my own healing journey. And that led me to Reiki.
And what other modalities in addition to Reiki do you offer in your healing practice?
Well, in addition to Reiki, I practice vibrational sound healing with crystal and Tibetan singing bowls, as well as other healing instruments. And I'm certified in hypnotherapy, which is a wonderful way to break habits, change behaviors by getting the subconscious mind to actually cooperate with your conscious mind. And I love astrology. I use it often. It's a great tool for self-knowledge. And I'm also a yoga and meditation teacher.
Wonderful. I think I shared with you that yoga was my path to Reiki way back when. We'll talk about that later, though. In an article last year, you shared that there are 9 unexpected side effects of Reiki, and that these are very positive side effects, including developing our psychic senses. Please tell us a little more about the wonderful 9.
Sure. Well, in addition to the tangible benefits of Reiki, such as stress reduction and pain relief and just overall improved well-being, I noticed that myself and my Reiki clients experienced additional changes that aren't often noted as benefits of Reiki. So, for example, you might find yourself gaining access to new perspectives. Since Reiki helps promote relaxation and energetic balance, it sets the stage for seeing life differently. And as your perspective shifts, you have unique opportunities for healing and personal growth. Biases and judgments are often eliminated. And these changes lead to a deeper understanding of challenging situations. You can gain new insights. You can have increased compassion for others, stronger personal relationships, and just overall increased happiness.
And what about greater love and care for the self?
Oh, isn't that wonderful? I personally have always found myself to be compassionate with others. And that was easy for me. It was easy for me to love others. It was much more challenging to love myself. And I really do believe that with the help of Reiki, I was able to access greater self acceptance and greater self love.
Now, last November also marked the publication of your wonderful book, Everyday Reiki. What inspired this book, and what do you share with your readers?
Oh, this book was created during the pandemic. So I used that time, the downtime we all had, to turn my attention inwards. And I realized that I really wanted to understand Reiki more deeply. So although I was a Reiki master at the time and I had my own Reiki clients, I wanted to see if I could develop a more meaningful personal experience with Reiki. So I went back to the beginning at Reiki level 1, and I created for myself a 40-day practice where each day I explored a different Reiki concept and then developed a meditation and a journaling practice to enhance my own understanding of that particular topic. And I repeated that process because I liked it so much for Reiki level 2 and then the master level. And really, that's how my book, Everyday Reiki, was born.
And what were some of the concepts that you shared in that book?
Just everything. We go through the chakra system in depth, the energy body. We focus on each chakra each day. We went through the Reiki principles and got into each one per day, and really, focused in on that. We work on things like grounding, how to clear energy, all sorts of different concepts. It was really a profound experience for myself, and I've gotten such tremendous feedback from it.
As we discussed earlier, I was drawn to Reiki in the early 1990s, and it was life-changing in so many ways. What would you share with someone who was interested in experiencing and even learning Reiki, but might be a little hesitant?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I would say that if you're interested in experiencing Reiki, I'd encourage you to try it. Healing is gentle, it's non-invasive, and it has so many benefits, like we just discussed. By learning Reiki, though, you can gain skills to enhance your own well-being through self-healing, which is an incredible experience. And you can use it to potentially help others if you feel called to do so. And Reiki has truly transformed my life, and it can transform yours as well. Regarding any feelings of hesitancy, I would say that it can be extremely beneficial to get out of your comfort zone once in a while.
I know many people who are very devout in their faith, and when I talk about Reiki, they seem to shy away. This can be practiced by anyone from any faith.
Absolutely. And I've run into that as well. Even my mother, for a personal example, who's a devout Catholic, was hesitant to try it at first. But since she's seen the benefits of it, and her hesitancy just disappeared, and she really allowed herself to receive the healing energy, and it's helped reduce her pain a great deal.
And not perhaps Reiki, but the famous Padre Pio was known for hands-on healing.
Yes, he was, and he was a stigmatic as well. I enjoy working with him. I've worked with his energies. He was a big fan, and even not to say it's the same, but Jesus laid hands on people for healing as well. So
Absolutely.
there is a tradition there in various faiths of hands-on healing.
Congratulations on your just published new book, Spirit Allies and Healing Guides Create Your Divine Support System. What inspired this new book?
Well, the inspiration for the book came from my curiosity in working with my guides during Reiki healings. It brought back those memories of my imaginary friends from childhood. These imaginary friends, which probably weren't as imaginary as I originally thought, had superpowers when I was little, and they lived above my canopy bed. So now as an adult, I began to learn all I could about spirit guides and other spirit allies that could help me and others with personal healing, whether that be physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, or financial. And I spent a lot of time in meditation and doing other practices to deepen my connection to my own guides. And I felt really strongly that others would benefit from my experiences. So I created this book, of course, with the help of my group of spirit guides.
Absolutely. The,
Hmm.
the writing team that worked alongside you, the invisible
They
writing
sure
team.
did.
I had shared with you that I too was connected to spirit and spirit guides as a very young child, and throughout my life have been blessed with messages of import at various times, depending upon the situation, including life-saving situations. You share that when we are born, we're assigned a team of spirit guides. Who are these guides, and who does the assigning?
Again, another great question. I believe that these guides that assist us throughout our lives, they protect us, inspire us, and comfort us. I feel that the answer to as who assigns us our guides is twofold. I think that spirit guides that we're born with, our original group of spirit guides, chose to work with us, that they feel an affinity towards us and want to guide us on our life path. However, I believe that a higher spiritual force, whether you call that force the creator, a higher power, God, the universe, whatever you choose to call this higher power, assigns us our spirit guides to help us as we journey through life.
Do these guides change during the course of our lives as situations warrant?
Well, I feel that certain guides are with us for our entire lifetime, from birth all the way through death, but other guides come into our circle of spirit allies for brief periods of times, such as like perhaps during a challenging relationship or an emotional loss. And other guides come in when we learn a new skill or take up a new interest, for example, such as Reiki. It's really dynamic circle of spirit allies that surround us.
I had shared with you that my mother had passed away in January of 2020. And at the time after her passing, I began to see a series of circles and rings. And my sense from what came to me was that my spirit guide was delivering a message. And because of that message, a poem came through me called Circles and Rings. May I share that with you?
Oh, I would love that. Thank you.
The path of great beauty in so many things, from atoms to galaxies, circles and rings. Natural wisdom that dwells there within, from naught to 360, that magical spin. We circle each other in gravity's dance, as Gaia circles soul, the solar romance, as Luna circles us in life-giving motion, drawing the tides and inner emotion. And the age of the oak is found in its rings, as in woman and man and all living things. And when the rings stop and life comes to an end, we'll all circle back and dance once again.
Wow, that's absolutely beautiful. Have you published that?
I am actually in the process of putting together a book of all of my spiritual poetry, and I will be publishing it hopefully later this year. So thank you for asking that question.
Oh, excellent. Well, I can't wait to get my hands on that. Sounds very powerful.
Thank you. As with every practice in life, the collaboration begins with intention. How may we set this intention?
Well, setting an intention for me is a very personal, heartfelt process because intentions can direct our energy to produce a particular result, and it can provide a great structure that can guide our thoughts and actions. So, if I were to set an intention to collaborate with my healing guides, I would suggest first setting a really nice, calm space and silencing your cell phone. Take a few deep breaths and then determine what your goals are for connecting with your guides. For example, you may be in need of healing, whether that's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, or financial. Or perhaps you're facing a challenge in your life, or you want to understand your life purpose on a deeper level. So based on your unique goals, you can craft an intention. Would you like me to give an example of an intention?
Please do.
Okay. So a sample intention, if I were to write one for my personal healing, would be I, Don McLaughlin, wish to develop relationships with my guides, angels, ancestors, and deities to assist me along my life path and for deep healing on all levels of my being. Therefore, I will say yes to activities, choices, and thoughts that align with these goals of learning the tools and techniques to connect with these powerful energies. Today, with a grateful heart for my unique journey, I'm ready to commit myself to cultivating relationships with my spirit guides, angels, ancestors, and deities, forming my own personal divine support system.
That's beautiful. And I think there are two key words in addition to all the other wonderful words. One of them is gratitude.
Mhm.
Gratitude is so important, correct, in everything that we do.
Everything we do. I practice, have a gratitude practice I practice every day. I start my morning each day listing 3 or 4 things I'm grateful for. And at the close of the day, I express gratitude for 3 or 4 things that happened during the day.
And the other word is ready, readiness, because when we're ready, the power starts coming, doesn't it?
Absolutely. When we're ready, what is it? When we're ready, the teacher appears. Well,
Right.
in my experience, when we're ready, the spirit guides appear.
I had a wonderful teacher in the New Seminary of New York back in the 1990s, and he used to share a song that says, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready. I'm ready for life to do the good and the beautiful. I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready.
That's wonderful. I'm going to have to write that down.
What are some of the other steps in building our divine support system?
Well, there are several ways that we can improve our ability to connect with our divine support system. For me, one of the most important ones is quieting the mind. Our minds like to chatter all day. And with all that noise, sometimes it's difficult to feel that connection, to sense that connection with our spirit guides. So I would suggest meditating even as little as 10 to 15 minutes per day to really help quiet and settle the mind. Imagination is another important step, so that we can picture our spirit guides or imagine a meeting place where we can meet our guides. And I started exploring my imagination simply by daydreaming and let images form in my mind's eye. So that's a great place to start.
What about
Integrate.
dreams? What about dreams?
Oh my goodness, dreaming is one of my favorite. I have very vivid, dynamic dreams, and spending time and setting an intention to meet your spirit guides or receive messages from your spirit guides during your dreams. It's called the dream incubation technique. That's a wonderful way to connect with guides. If you're going to choose that, I would suggest keeping a dream journal by your bed. Can really help capture those insights.
And all of these practices should be journaled, shouldn't they?
I keep a healing journal. I highly suggest everyone keep a healing journal or a spirit guide journal if you prefer, just to track what your experiences are, what's working for you, what's more challenging, and to record any messages and insights that you receive. Because we're only human and we can forget. And it's wonderful to go back and say, hey, 3 months ago, I received a message and it seems important today. What is it? If you're writing it down, then you'll have a way to go back.
And for those who have challenges with pen and paper or pencil and paper, there's always recording it on your phone, isn't there?
There is, there is. I haven't tried that personally, but I love that suggestion. I'm going to write that one down.
And the other aspect that we're talking about now in creating our divine support system is the willingness to accept it with the knowledge that we're worthy of receiving. Worthiness is a big question for a lot of people.
Well, yes, and people think they have to be quote unquote special in some way to receive this guidance and to have these connections. But really, I feel it's our divine right as beings on this planet, as we are spiritual beings. We're spirit having a human experience. So really, this connection is available to all of us if we're ready, like you said, ready and willing to take the leap of faith to connect.
And how do we imbue ourselves with that worthiness? What do we do to find that worthiness?
I think it comes back to that self-love and self-acceptance, to accept where we are right now and love ourselves in spite of our limitations. For me, that was really one of the keys to realizing that this is work that I could do, that this is communications that I can have right now, just as I am.
Absolutely. Just as I am. I'm ready and I'm worthy just as I am. One of the other things you touched upon, and something that all of us practice that are involved in these healing arts and yoga, is meditation. Now, I have friends who say, I can't meditate. What do you say to people who say, I can't meditate?
Well, there are different forms of meditation. And just as we're all varied beings, there are numerous. So sitting in meditation does not have to be, although I do practice this, sitting down on the ground, in lotus position with your hands on. That works for a lot of people. But there are so many options, even a walking meditation, preferably without your earbuds in, just silently walking along, being mindful of each step, not focusing on anything else except for being right here, right now, as you take each and every step. That's a wonderful way. Also, meditating outside. So if you're feeling scattered, go outside, sit against a tree, or sit on a rock and just feel the energy of being out in nature is an extremely meditative experience. So you don't necessarily need to, sit for an hour cross-legged, unless that calls to you, in which case go for it.
I have friends who are absolutely wonderful cooks and chefs, and they can make just about anything and make it delicious. And for them, they've told me that the act of being with the food and preparing the food is their form of meditation.
My grandmother, who never meditated, quote unquote, meditated in her life, would fall into the same state, crocheting.
Ah,
So doing repetitive practices like that, cooking, anything that takes you into the now, I feel can be a form of meditation when you're deeply involved in what you're doing, focused on it, and not having your mind skip off into a million directions.
my guest is Dawn McLaughlin. Her new book, Spirit Allies and Healing Guides, Create Your Divine Support System. Dawn, please share with our listeners where they can find out more about you and your work and get your books.
Sure. Well, my books are available on Amazon, or you can go to your local bookstore and ask them to order it. Llewellyn is the publisher, so you can always order a copy directly through them. And if you'd like more information about me or my offerings, my website is intuitive with a dash hearts.com.
And we'll be back with more of Dawn after these words on the Om Times Radio Network.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM. Om Times Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Om Times, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Imagine yourself being transported to India, to the banks of the Ganga and an ashram in Rishikesh. Visualize that you are welcome to satsang with an American sannyasi who shares the wisdom of her guru. Your visualization has manifested. Join Sattvi Bhagawati Saraswati for inspiration and transformation every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on Om Times Radio. Back on Destination Unlimited, my guest this week is Dawn McLaughlin. Her new book, Spirit Allies and Healing Guides, Create Your Divine Support System. Dawn, our connection with our spirit allies and guides comes through our subtle psychic senses. Some of us are born with these senses wide open, and others become aware through a process of awakening. What are the steps to awakening and recognizing these subtle senses?
Well, our psychic senses are our inner senses, and they mimic our physical senses. So I'll go through the psychic senses and then how we can connect with them. So clairvoyance is our psychic sense that relates to our sense of sight and is our ability to receive information through this second sight, either as a vision with our mind's eye or externally through our physical eyes. So you might be naturally clairvoyant if perhaps you see orbs in just in your field of vision, or you have vivid daydreams that might be visions, or you experience vivid or prophetic dreams. Now, if you want to awaken your clairvoyant abilities, you can try different visualization techniques. A favorite of mine would be simply to close your eyes and recreate an image in your mind's eye. And you can start with an easy, uncomplicated one, like a circle or a square. And as you become more comfortable, then you can start creating more complicated ones, like a flower or a building. Clairvoyance is one of the more popular of the psychic senses.
What about clairsentience?
Oh, clairsentience. That's a really good one. So clairsentience relates to detecting the energetic signature or vibe of people, buildings, and objects. So for people that are naturally clairsentient, you might walk into a room or a building that just felt off. So for example, an argument or something may have just have happened in the room and you weren't aware of it, but when you walk in, the energy just feels different. It might feel darker or charged in a way that isn't pleasant. But if you're looking to awaken these abilities, you could consider sitting with a crystal or a stone from your yard. Just pick up a random stone and just try to sense the vibe of that crystal, because in my experience, each crystal has a unique vibe and they're easy to work with.
I've had the occasion to walk into a room where there's nothing there, no fragrance of any kind, and within a couple of minutes, I smell roses. What's that about?
Oh, that's your clairalience ability. That's your ability to smell or perceive an odor or scent of something that's not there. That's happened to me too. Common scents that you may experience are flowers, perfume, smoke, or even decomposition. If I were to come up with an exercise to awaken this sense, if that's what you're interested in, I would practice conscious smelling, which is taking different scents. Essential oils are great to use. And as you deeply inhale the aroma, notice how you feel physically, mentally, emotionally, and energetically. Notice if any memories surface. A lot of times clairalience is related to mediumship. So you might get the scent of perhaps your grandmother's perfume wafting to you out of nowhere. That's a common one that people mention often.
Absolutely. You know, one of the things I used to do when I would teach classes, I used to teach classes in people developing their psychic senses. And
Mm-hmm.
I would say very simply in the beginning of the class, how many of you see what I'm saying? And they would raise their hands. I said, you're clairvoyant. How many of you
Mm-hmm.
have you hear what I'm saying? And they would raise their hand. I said, you're clairaudient. How many of you feel what I'm saying? And they would raise
Mm-hmm.
their hands. And I said, you're clairsentient. So just the way that you would identify information that you're receiving by sight, by hearing, by feeling, by smelling, whatever it might be, that's a way to determine which of your clairs is turned on. You could have more than one clair turned on, but
Yes,
then you can work to develop these, right?
absolutely. And I found that, let's say you have a strong sense of vision, that you might naturally be more clairvoyant. And someone who has a strong sense of hearing, someone who might learn by listening, they might be more clairaudient. It's actually, it mimics what our strengths of our actual physical senses are in many cases.
And every sentient human being has the ability to open up one of these clairs, don't they?
Absolutely. And experiment. If you're not familiar with this, experiment, be curious, and be open to the experience.
So you've developed your psychic abilities, your clairs, but there are three common blocks for some folks to receiving messages from our spirit allies and healing guides. What are those blocks, and how may we overcome them?
Yes, these are important to know, especially since many of us unconsciously do these all day long. So, for example, spending your day on autopilot. It's a natural state of our mind to go into autopilot when we repeatedly do the same behaviors day after day. And sometimes that's a good thing. Like if you were tying your shoes, you might not want to have to spend time each day remembering how to tie your shoes or even brushing your teeth. But when we go into this autopilot mode, this habitual manner, we're not really in our environment. We're not really feeling what we're feeling. We're sort of numb. Our perceptions are dulled. And it's difficult for us to receive messages from our spirit guides that can be obtained through our intuition and our psychic senses if we're not in tune to what's going on right now. So we can turn off this autopilot and live in the present moment. My suggestion would be to meditate. That helps break the chains of habitual behavior, or simply changing up your routine and adding more spontaneity into your daily life can help keep you more engaged. So, for example, if you're driving to work, take a different route to work. Change up the order of how you do things during the day. Keep things interesting. Also, having preconceived ideas about how your spirit guides should communicate with you is another roadblock. And movies and books have added to this. They can make spirit guide communications really dramatic and theatrical. But really, my experience with spirit guides is it's a lot more subtle. Our spirit guides might use signs in our environment and our dreams to communicate with us. Our physical surroundings may contain messages. So, for example, seeing the same number repeated over and over again is a common one, or even seeing feathers float down from the sky is another great one to pay attention to. So just be aware that spirit guides can communicate with you in various ways. And if you notice a sign and you feel it might be a message for you, pause and reflect on what it means to you. And just spend time observing your surroundings. Also, being disconnected from your intuition is another major roadblock. So your intuition, your inner knowing, that quiet wisdom that's held deep within us. A lot of us have suppressed this gut response, preferring to, focus on the logical or the analytical. And by disconnecting from our intuition, we lose a wealth of information from our internal insights as well as our spirit allies and guides. So to reconnect with your intuition, just relax, check in with yourself, and become aware of your gut reaction to circumstances and listen to this internal response, act upon it. And as you follow your instincts and internal guidance, your intuition will develop. And you'll gain additional access even to those psychic senses we were just talking about, Victor, which are really born from your connection to your intuition.
We had an offline conversation about, as children, in my specific case, whenever I would manifest something, some information that I had no other source for, I was labeled as a child with an overactive imagination. In your situation, you had a very religious family. You were told basically not to say what you were saying.
Not to say what I was saying, not to think what I was thinking, just be like everybody else.
What advice would you give to parents who have children who are manifesting psychic abilities, sharing information? What would you suggest they do?
Oh, empower your children. Listen to them. Children can be teachers too. So I would sit with children and listen to what they're saying. Don't dismiss it. Just be with them. Let them share with you and you share with them. I love children as teachers. I learned so much from them.
When I was 7 years old, I was very close with my paternal grandfather. When I was 7 years old, I was sitting in my room reading a book, and I looked up, and my grandfather was standing there. I said, "Grandpa, when did you come in?" Didn't say anything, just smiled at me, and then gently disappeared. I went into the living room, and I said to my mother and father, "Grandpa was here." And they said, "You're imagining things again." And a few moments later, the phone rang with word that he had passed away. For me, that was an awakening. But again, I was told, I was suppressed. I was told, this is the 1950s. I was told, don't talk about it.
Oh, I had the almost exact same experience when I was almost 8. I lost my friend. She died suddenly, unexpectedly. And she had just been playing with me a week before. And it was about 3 or 4 days after she had passed I saw her with my physical eyes in my room at night, right by my bureau. And I went into my parents' room and I told them that my friend Trish was in my room. And they told me, no, obviously she's not in your room. And I said, yes, she is. And it was the one and only time I ever slept in my parents' bed. Not because I was scared, but because she wouldn't leave my room. As a child, I didn't know what was happening, but my parents wouldn't let me talk about it after that night.
And in retrospect, she came to say goodbye.
She did. And I wish I was little. I didn't know, but yes, in retrospect, she came to say goodbye, and I'm glad I got to see her that one last time.
Absolutely. There are many types of spirit healing allies. How may we identify them, and tell us about a few of these?
Sure. Well, our spirit guides have specialties such as like healer spirit guides, which can help with our personal healing. We have teacher spirit guides, which can assist us in obtaining knowledge and wisdom. Joy guides, which can help us find more happiness in our daily lives. And protector guides, which can help keep us safe. There are an unlimited amount of guides that can assist us with all aspects of our life. I also expand, though, my group of spirit allies to include, let's say, ancestors, which are another powerful group of spirit allies we can call upon. You might think of ancestors as just your blood relatives, such as your grandma and your great-grandfather, and this is correct, but we can also expand our concept of ancestors. So, for example, if you're adopted like I am, or you're in foster care, we're also connected to the ancestors of our adopted or foster families. And I believe you also have access to the ancestors on the land on which you live. And I personally think that's why many individuals in the United States receive Native American guides. And you can also have ancestors by affinity or interest. So, for example, if you're a Reiki healer like we are, we have ancestors by affinity to our Reiki healers of the past. It's fascinating. As well as, spirit guides can also include deities, which are divine beings, with their own mythology. And there are angels and archangels, beings of pure light, who are available to assist us too. And, you can identify your spirit guides by using your intuition and trusting the information you receive. So, for example, you might hear the name with your inner hearing, or you might just simply know. And you have to trust the guidance that you're getting.
Is there one or two that you have as favorites?
Yes, absolutely. So I would say my favorites. Oh my goodness. Well, I'll share with you a very personal story. When I received my Reiki 2 attunement, I was driving into my corporate day job, and I had a vision of an elderly Native American man. It was very powerful, very moving. I had an emotional connection to that. And I heard with my hearing, my inner hearing, he said, ancestor. And I knew that he was a guide to work with for healing. And it wasn't until years later, when doing my ancestry DNA, that I found out that I'm actually part Native American, which was very special to me. The fact that I remembered that vision and working with him, it's been exceptional. Also, different kind of guide. I have celiac disease, which is an autoimmune disorder, and my body has issues absorbing nutrients from food. So Karna is a Roman goddess of the physical body and healing who can assist with the absorption of nutrients. So I work with her often. So unlike Ancestor, my healing guide who came to me spontaneously, Karna is the guide that I've called on into my circle of guides to help me specifically with that physical healing related to nutrients.
Beautiful. My guest, Dawn McLaughlin. Her book, Spirit Allies and Healing Guides, Create Your Divine Support System. We'll be back with more of Dawn after these words on the Om Times Radio Network.
Humanity Healing International is a small nonprofit with a big dream. Since 2007, HHI has been working tirelessly to bring help to communities with little or no hope. Our projects are not broad mandates, nor are they overnight solutions, but they bring the reassurance that no one is alone and that someone cares. To learn more, please visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of Times Magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers and researchers pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
Out here, in the middle of all these acres, it can feel like you're the only person on Earth. And sometimes, that's how it feels when you're going through tough times. Stress builds up, you have trouble sleeping, maybe your mind is racing and you just don't feel like yourself. So what do? We get help. Lots of people are struggling with their mental health. It's more common than you think. The good news is, there are people in our community who are here for us when times are tough. Sometimes, just talking to someone can make all the difference in the world, so we don't feel so alone. One thing you can do is visit loveyourmindtoday.org for simple steps you can take to find the right solution for you. Whether it's hearing stories about what other people are going through or finding the resources we need to navigate the stresses in our lives. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Bill Maher. I can find humor in almost anything, but one thing I never laugh about is cruelty to animals. If you don't get the joke either, write People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, 501 Front Street, Norfolk, Virginia, 23510.
Back on Destination Unlimited, my guest this week, Dawn McLaughlin. Her book is called Spirit Allies and Healing Guides, Create Your Divine Support System. In Spirit Allies and Healing Guides, you offer a number of ways of communicating with our guides. Please share one or two.
So there are numerous ways that we communicate with our guides. So for example, if you enjoy meditation and visualization, you can set your intention to meet your spirit guides or a specific guide by quieting your mind and then visualize a meeting place. I prefer a garden, but any place where you feel a sense of peace, visualize it. So for example, maybe a beach or a chapel. Bring in as much detail as possible. Perhaps place a bench there for you and your healing guides to sit at, and then invite your guides in and be open to your experience. That's my favorite way because I can actually, because I can use my inner hearing and visualize, I can get great messages from my guides using that format. So that would be my number one. But another favorite technique, we talked about it, would be that dream incubation technique. That's a wonderful one. The ancient Greeks and Egyptians used dreams as a way to gain guidance for healing. So it's a wonderful tool to use. You would simply set your intention to meet your guides in your dreams before going to bed and allow yourself to simply drift off to sleep. If you're using this technique, I do suggest keeping a dream journal next to your bed. Or if you want to use your approach, Victor, you can use your phone recording afterwards, and you can record any sensations that you have upon waking, recording your dreams, how you felt when you wake up, any insights that you might have. And if you didn't have any dreams, don't worry, just record that as well, but pay attention to your feelings. So whatever method of communication you select, be patient and consistent. As with any new technique, it can take time for it to develop.
I had shared with you offline that I'd been listening clairaudiently to the spirit guide since I was a child. And I'll share with you one remarkable personal story that happened when I was stationed in Korea in 1975. I regularly exchanged letters with my mother. I had no reason to know that anything was wrong with her. And one morning, the voice came and said, "You must call your mother. She needs to hear from you now." And whenever the voice spoke to me, I would always respond. So I called my mother back in New York. And in those days, you're old enough to remember, I think, that we had extension telephones that you could pick up one extension and pick up another extension. Maybe not. Maybe you're
Oh,
not old enough for that.
no, I had those kind of telephones, absolutely.
So in any event, I called, and my mother and sister picked up the extension simultaneously. And I said, "Mom, is there anything wrong?" And my sister goes, "Oh my God, how did he find out?" And it turned out she was scheduled for major surgery the next day, and the voice told me to tell her the operation would be a complete success. She'd have a full recovery. Everything will be fine. She needed to hear those words from me, those words of assurance. And that's just one example of so many things like that that have happened throughout my life. And I'm grateful for each and every one of those pieces of information and the way it enabled me to support my family and my friends. So I'm grateful for that. You have one in particular you'd like to share, aside from seeing your friend?
Speaking of the voice, I also sometimes hear a loud voice. And when that voice speaks to me, I too listen. One of the more dramatic times that the voice has come was I was driving on Interstate 95, going from Rhode Island to Massachusetts with my two boys in the back. We were in a truck, and out of the blue, going about, I want to say maybe slightly under 70 miles an hour, right approaching an S curve, the tire of the truck sheared off for no reason, and the front of the truck smacked down. Now, the tire actually hopped across the median, hit another car, but no injuries from that. But my initial instinct when the truck slammed down was to slam on my brake, but the voice told me not to. It gave me step-by-step instructions. Reduce speed, put on the hazards, wait for two cars to go by on your left or on your right side. Then there'll be a space, move over now. And then I'd move over, make your way to the breakdown lane, made my way to the breakdown lane. It was so clear, and it kept me calm instead of panicking as cars were flying by on either side. So yes, I do hear the voice as well, and I always listen. It's helped save my life. In fact, I credit the voice for saving my life and my children's life that day.
I shared with you offline a similar story that my wife and son and I were on a local highway. It was full traffic, but everybody was moving at the speed limit. And I was in the extreme left-hand lane, and the voice came and said, "You must leave this lane, go to the center lane now." And I always, always observed that voice. And what I did was I carefully moved to the center lane, and within 5 seconds after that, there was a multiple car collision in the left lane. And had I not moved, we would have been in the middle of that multiple car collision. And my wife looked at me and just shook her head. She said, "Amazing, absolutely amazing."
Yes, it really is truly amazing. And the beautiful part is that others have access to this kind of divine guidance. Everyone does. Just open yourself, be ready to receive it.
You share 7 keys to success in working with our divine support system. Please share one with us.
Well, it's hard to share just one because
Sure,
I strongly believe, I strongly believe that everyone should keep some type of journal to track their practices and progress. However, I feel that curiosity is such an important yet underrated trait. So I would suggest be curious about approaching your guides. Be curious about how your guides communicate with you, and be curious about what may be possible for you. And as you lean into your curiosity, you open yourself up to new possibilities and areas of exploration for personal growth and for additional healing opportunities. So, yeah, curiosity, my favorite key.
You offer more than 100 divine beings that we may connect with. When I had my first Reiki attunement in early 1990, the Reiki master teacher told us after the attunement to place our hands over our heart center and close our eyes and see if anything came to us. And as soon as I did that, I did not have angel consciousness before that, but I saw what I believed to be as an angel. And when he asks, what do you see? I said, I see an angel. He said, ask the angel its name. And without asking, I immediately heard Gabriel. That night, I went home, and my daughter, who was in her early teens at the time, said, Daddy, would you show me this Reiki stuff? And I said, of course. And she sat in a chair. I placed my hands behind her head, and she closed her eyes and she said, Daddy, I see people who have passed away, members of our family, including her grandfather who had died before she was born, and others. She said, Daddy, there's an angel flying above our family. I said, ask the angel its name. And she said, Gabriel. So she confirmed for me exactly what I had experienced that day. Can you relate to that experience?
I can't. Well, I mentioned like my Native American guide, my healing guide, and how I had no idea that when this guide appeared to me that I actually did have Native American ancestry. And he called himself an ancestor, which at the time made no sense to me. I appreciated it, but I didn't have the sense of connection that I had after I found that DNA test. And I thought back to that experience and I was like, wow, that's uncanny, incredible. And I have had, instances with angels, and they don't appear to me the way that they appear to others. Like Metatron is an angel that I've worked with because of my work with crystals and healing. Metatron is fabulous to work with crystals and healing. And when Metatron appears to me, at least the sense that I get of Metatron, it's more of a geometric shape rather than a traditional angel. So that was incredible, having that experience. So be open. The key is to be open to what your intuition is guiding you, what you're seeing and feeling with your inner senses.
In addition to the indigenous American healer and Metatron, what are some of the other guides that have manifested, divine guides that have manifested for other folks?
It was interesting. Speaking of angels, one of my dearest friends was telling me a story of her son who saw, he was saying what he saw were angels, but he told his mother, my friend, that these angels aren't what you think they are. And what he was describing, and he was only 6 at the time, was eyes. They have lots of eyes and there are wheels. And she actually checked the Bible, and there are descriptions of angels in the Bible that resembled that. So that was fascinating. My another dear friend, her guides are her grandmother, and she had several strokes where she was incapacitated for periods of time in comas. And when she awoken from them, she was describing conversations she had with her grandmother about her own personal healing and how she was going to get better. Even though the doctors said that she would never be able to recover fully and probably wouldn't walk again, her grandmother told her she would. And you know what? She did. These are some examples, but there are so many.
The angels who look like eyes, I believe, are the seraphim.
Yes, they are. Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I'm going to share a personal, very, very realistic lucid dream that I had a few months ago. And I don't think I've shared this on this program before. But I dreamed that I was an angel attending an angel academy, an angelic academy. And we came to the day of graduation and assignment. And we walked into this huge temple. And there was a U-shaped table around the temple. And at each position along the table was an angel, a teacher. And we were instructed to walk before each of these teachers, make eye contact, and when they nodded their head, move on to the next. And all of us did that. When that was done, we were told to go to the front table where there were 3 main angels sitting there. And they gave us our angelic names and our missions. The name I was given was Aviel, which in Hebrew means the Lord is my Father. And my mission was to be an angel to other angels. And I woke up in tears.
Oh, that's absolutely beautiful.
And I recognized that.
Yeah.
I recognized that, in my life form, not an angelic form, but in my life form, I've been an angel to other angels.
Yes, I have vivid dreams too, and they're exceptionally profound. I'll share a quick one, but it's not as quite as spiritual as yours. But I dreamed, relatively recently, that I was in an elevator, and it was an old-fashioned kind of elevator, the ones with the doormen.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going up, 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 and I got out of the elevator, and all the beings, it was a huge library, huge, and there were beings there, and there were beings of light, and they weren't paying attention to me. I would go up to them, but they were busy, and they were doing their thing. And I was with all these books, and I felt such a sense of being home. It was amazing. I felt so fulfilled there. I started skipping in this library, saying, I'm home, you can't make me leave. And as soon as I said that, bam, I woke up. I have a feeling that was the Akashic Records.
I was just about to say that it sounds to me like the Akashic Records. My guest is Dawn McLaughlin. Her brand new book, Spirit Allies and Healing Guides, Create Your Divine Support System. Dawn, one more time, please share with our listeners where they can get your books and find out more about you and your amazing work.
Oh, thank you. So my books are available on Amazon, or you could go directly to the publisher at Llewellyn Publishing, or your local bookstores and ask them to order it for you. And my website where you can reach me is intuitive-hearts.com.
Dawn, thank you so much for joining us and sharing this wonderful experience and wisdom and inspiration for others who are looking to find the path.
Well, thank you so much. It's been an absolute joy, Victor, to be here with you.
And thank you for joining us on Destination Unlimited. I'm Victor, the Voice Furman. Have a wonderful week.